All right, welcome back. We are doing something a little different today. We're taking a text that has been, let's be honest, absolutely butchered by pop culture.
Oh, complete.
Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And we are stripping away all the boardroom
Let's
machismo,
love it.
all the Hollywood explosions and that whole crush your enemies thing to find out, what's actually in there.
It is about time we did. Because if you actually read the text, really read it,
Yeah.
especially the first 2 chapters, it is not a book about how to fight. It's a book about how not to fight.
That's it. That's the paradox we're starting with. The
Yeah.
core idea is that the greatest victory, it's the one that requires no battle at all. Now, I have to be honest, right out of the gate, that sounds lovely. It sounds very, zen.
It does.
But for most of us living in the real world, it feels impossible. We're fighting for attention, fighting for promotions. We're struggling against our own bad habits.
Yeah,
Struggle just feels like the factory setting of modern life.
it certainly feels that way. But the premise we're exploring today, and this is based on Sun Tzu, but also some Stoic philosophy and modern decision science, is that struggle is usually a symptom.
A symptom of what?
A symptom of a failure that happened weeks or maybe even months ago.
So if I'm struggling today, it's because I messed up the planning phase yesterday or last month.
Precisely. Sun Tzu suggests that the sweating general, the one running around putting out fires.
That's me on a Tuesday.
Right. That person has already failed. They failed in what Sun Tzu calls the temple of calculation.
The temple of calculation. I like that. We're going to unpack that metaphor because it feels like the anchor for this whole conversation.
It is.
Our mission today is to define what he calls the sovereign mind, how to navigate the chaos of work, of relationships, of our own discipline with the strategic edge, not just reactive panic.
We're looking for that classic Mosaic truth, calm, practical, and ethical.
And before we get into the heavy lifting, just a quick note for everyone listening. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
All right, let's open the text. Chapter 1, Laying Plans.
Or, I've seen it translated as the calculation.
Yeah, both work.
Zoop.
Sun Tzu opens with this warning that I think most people just skim right over. He says, the art of war is of vital importance to the state.
Okay.
It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected.
He is really raising the stakes there. He's saying, look, do not take this lightly.
Exactly.
But in our context, we aren't running a state. We're not managing a standing army.
No, of course not. But you are managing a life. You're managing a career, a family, your own finances, your reputation.
Right.
If you mismanage your strategy in those areas, you don't just lose a game, you lose your time, you lose your peace of mind, you lose your resources.
So he's saying strategy isn't a hobby.
It's the foundation of survival.
Okay, and this brings us to the temple. Describe this setting for us, because it's very different from the battlefield.
It is. In ancient China, before a campaign was launched, the generals and the ruler would gather in the ancestral temple.
Okay.
This was a secluded, quiet space. No weapons were drawn. No soldiers were marching. It was a place of pure simulation.
A mental simulator.
That's a perfect way to put it. They would simulate the entire conflict before it even happened. They would weigh all the variables.
Oh, well.
And this is where Sun Tzu delivers his first kind of crushing insight. He says, the general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple ere the battle is fought.
Okay, that makes sense.
The general who loses makes but few calculations beforehand.
I want to push back on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because in the modern world, we hear so much about a bias for action.
All the time.
Move fast and break things, just ship it. Isn't there a danger in spending too much time in the temple? Can't you get, paralyzed by calculation?
That is a very common and very fair modern critique. But I think we confuse motion with progress. Sun Tzu would argue that moving fast in the wrong direction is just a faster way to die.
Right.
The calculation isn't about procrastination. It's about probability. He isn't saying don't act. He's saying don't act until you know you've already won.
Victory is a pre-decided outcome.
Yes. It's a settled question. If you find yourself relying on luck or just hoping that your hustle is going to save you in the fourth quarter,
Which is most projects.
you've already put yourself in a position of weakness. A true strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won. In the temple.
Okay, so let's get granular. What are we actually doing in this temple?
Uh,
Because he gives us a checklist.
he does.
He calls them the 5 constant factors, and I want to go through these slowly because they sound Well, they sound archaic, but the modern application is where the gold is,
Absolutely. The first factor is the moral law.
which sounds, very
It
religious.
sounds like theology, but it's actually sociology. In the text, he says, the moral law causes the people to be in complete accord with their ruler,
Okay.
so that they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger.
So in plain English, we're talking about alignment.
Radical alignment. Yes.
Yeah.
Think about a modern company. You have a CEO, a board, the employees.
Mm-hmm.
If the CEO wants to pivot to, say, AI, but the employees believe it's unethical and the board only cares about the quarterly dividends, you have violated the moral law.
You were fractured.
You're totally fractured. And if you go to war or, launch a product with a fractured team, you will lose. The friction will destroy you from the inside out.
What about on an individual level? What if I am both the ruler and the army?
Then it's about your values. Let's say you want to take a high-paying job that requires 80 hours of work a week,
Okay.
but you also deeply value being a present father or mother.
Right. There's a conflict.
You're violating your own moral law. You're internally divided. You will end up sabotaging yourself. It's almost guaranteed.
So the first check in the temple is, am I unified? Does my team or do my own values actually believe in this mission?
Correct. And if the answer is no, you stop. You do not pass go. You resolve that first.
All right. Factor number 2, heaven.
Sun Tzu writes, heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons.
So, like atmospheric conditions, the weather.
On the surface, yes. But more deeply, this is about timing and cyclicality.
Hmm.
The Greeks had 2 words for time, chronos, which is just the ticking clock,
Right.
and kairos, which is the opportune moment, the right time. Sun Tzu is talking about kairos.
Is the season right for this?
Exactly.
Huh.
You cannot plant crops in winter no matter how hard you work. You can't launch a surfboard company in the middle of a blizzard. A lot of people fail not because their idea is bad or their effort is low, but because they are fighting heaven,
They're fighting the macro cycles, the market, the culture.
the whole environment. So the calculation here is the wind at my back or is it in my face?
And if it's in your face, you wait.
You wait for the season to change, and that takes immense discipline.
Okay. Factor number 3, earth.
Earth comprises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death,
This is the terrain.
the physical and logistical reality. In a business context, Earth is your budget. It's your supply chain. It's the government regulations. It is the competitive landscape.
I feel like this is the one people ignore the most. They've got the moral law. They're super passionate. They have the heaven. The timing feels perfect. But they have no money and no actual plan.
That is what we call enthusiastic suicide.
Wrong.
You cannot wish away the terrain. If the distance is too far for your fuel tank, you will not make it. It doesn't matter how positive your mindset is.
So the earth calculation is that cold, hard look at your resources.
It is. Do we actually have the runway to pull this off, honestly?
Factor number 4, the commander.
This is you, the leader. And Sun says judges the commander by 5 virtues: wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness.
I want to highlight benevolence there. We usually think of a military commander as, ruthless. Why does Sun Tzu list kindness or benevolence as a strategic necessity?
Because of the moral law. If you're not benevolent, if you don't genuinely care for your troops, for your team, they will not follow you when things get hard.
I'll abandon you.
Of course. But notice he pairs it with strictness.
You need both.
Right. If you're all benevolence and no strictness, you're a pushover. You have no discipline. If you're all strictness and no benevolence, you are a tyrant.
And people rebel against a tyrant.
Exactly. You need the balance. This calculation asks, am I the person capable of leading this specific mission?
It's a character audit.
It is. And it can be painful. Sometimes the honest answer is no, I am not disciplined enough for this yet.
And finally, factor number 5, method and discipline.
This is the boring stuff.
The spreadsheets.
This is spreadsheets, yeah. The marshaling of the army and its proper subdivisions, the graduations of rank, the maintenance of roads. In short, systems, operations.
This is the difference between a mob and an army.
That's it. Do you have a routine? Do you have a workflow? If you're trying to write a book, do you have a specific time of day and a specific place where you write? Or are you just waiting for inspiration?
Right.
Inspiration is not a method.
Okay, so we're in the temple. We look at alignment, which is moral law, timing, which is heaven, resources, earth, character, the commander, and systems, which is method.
And here's the kicker. Sun Tzu says you compare your checks on all 5 against the enemy's checks. And by this comparison, he says, I will know who will win.
You know before you even start.
You know before you start. If you have the moral law and the earth, but the enemy has the heaven and the commander, you calculate the odds.
And if the calculation says you will lose,
The greatest strategic move is to not fight.
that is the win before conflict. The win is the decision to withdraw and live to fight another day on better ground.
Exactly. Or to change the variables until the calculation shifts in your favor.
This leads us right into the second segment, which is about the cost of getting this wrong. Let's say we skip the temple. We just run out onto the field full of passion. What happens?
Chapter 2, Waging War. This chapter is fascinating because it's almost entirely an economic treatise. It's not about tactics, it's about the budget.
He starts listing out very specific costs, doesn't he?
He does. He talks about 1,000 swift chariots, 1,000 heavy chariots, 100,000 mail-clad soldiers, and then he talks about what it costs. The expenditure at home and at the front, including entertainment of guests, small items such as glue and paint, and some spent on chariots and armor, will reach the total of 1,000 ounces of silver per day.
Glue and paint. I love that detail. He's really down in the weeds of logistics.
He's making a critical point. War is essentially an inflation of consumption. It just eats resources at an exponential rate.
And his conclusion.
It's the most famous line of the chapter. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare.
Never. Not once.
Never. The longer the struggle goes on, the duller your weapons become, and the more your spirit is exhausted.
There's this concept from the Bible, from Ecclesiastes, the blunt axe.
Yes. If the axe is dull and he does not sharpen the edge, then he must exert more strength. But wisdom brings success.
That is the perfect parallel. Planning the temple work that is sharpening the axe.
And conflict without planning is just swinging a dull axe.
Think about what that feels like. When you're hacking away with a dull axe, you're sweating, you're exhausted, you're frustrated, you're making a total mess of the wood.
That is what prolonged warfare looks like in a career or in a relationship. It's just brutal, ugly work.
So let's inventory the loss here. When we're in this state of dull axe struggle, what are we actually paying with?
First, and this is maybe the biggest cost in the modern economy, you pay with attention. You cannot focus on growth or innovation or joy if you are constantly fighting fires. If you're in a lawsuit or a bad breakup or a chaotic project, your horizon shrinks to the next 5 minutes.
You lose the future because you're completely trapped in the present.
Second, you pay with energy. Emotional exhaustion is a real strategic liability. When you are tired, you make bad decisions.
Get reactive.
You become reactive. You lose the commander virtues. You snap at your team. You miss important details.
Third is reputation.
Yeah. Sun Tzu worries about the state crumbling from within. If you're known as a leader who burns people out or a partner who is always in a crisis,
Your stock goes down.
wait up. People stop trusting you. You lose the moral law.
And finally, there's opportunity cost.
The time you spend fighting a losing battle is time you are not spending building a winning one. And this is where Sun Tzu says, a wise general makes a point of foraging on the enemy.
Foraging on the enemy. Okay, that sounds aggressive.
In the military sense, it means eating the enemy's food so you don't have to ship your own. He says 1 cartload of the enemy's provisions is equivalent to 20 of one's own.
A 1-to-20 ratio. That is massive leverage.
It is. In a modern ethical context, this just means using the environment's energy instead of your own. It means going with the grain of the wood, not against it.
So, if the market is moving toward digital,
You don't spend your fortune trying to revive analog. You forage on the digital trend. You let the momentum carry you.
it's judo instead of boxing.
It's pure efficiency. The goal is not just to win. The goal is to win with your treasury intact. If you win the war, but you bankrupt the state, you have lost.
I want to pause here and make this very, very concrete. We have covered the theory. Now I want to look at 3 specific examples: work, relationships, and habits.
Good.
Let's see how the temple versus the struggle actually plays out in real life.
Let's start with work, the classic project launch.
Okay, give me the conflict approach. The bad general.
The bad general gets an idea in the shower, gets a big dopamine hit. He runs into the office and says, "Team, we are launching a new podcast."
With no plan.
No plan. He doesn't check the budget, he doesn't check if the team has bandwidth or even wants to do it, moral law. He just starts recording.
And 3 weeks later,
The audio quality is terrible because there was no method. The host quits because he's completely overworked, the budget is blown, and now the general is sweating.
Right.
He's yelling at people to work harder. He is swinging that dull axe.
Now, give me the Sun Tzu approach. The same situation.
The Sun Tzu general gets the idea. He does nothing.
Nothing.
He goes into the temple. He asks, who is the audience for this? Heaven. Do we have the right equipment and skills? Earth. Is the team genuinely excited about this idea? Moral law.
He runs a premortem. We'll get to that.
He does. And he realizes, you know what? We don't have time for a weekly show, but we can do a really high-quality monthly one.
He adjusts the plan before taking the first step.
And when he launches, it's almost boring. It's smooth. There's no drama because the victory was already calculated.
Okay, example 2. Relationships. This is where I think Sun Tzu is surprisingly relevant. De-escalation.
The conflict approach in relationships is what I call the rooster that jumps at shadows.
You have to tell the story of the wooden rooster. This is a Taoist story, but it perfectly informs the Sun Tzu mindset.
It's a classic. A king wants his fighting rooster trained by the best trainer in the land. After 10 days, he asks the trainer, is he ready to fight? The trainer says no. He is vain and confident. He wants to fight everything he sees.
So he's arrogant.
Full of pride. 10 days later, the king asks again. The trainer says, not yet. Now he's reactive. Whenever another bird crows, he gets angry and puffs up.
He's easily triggered.
Very easily. 10 more days pass. The trainer says, still no. He still stares with anger. He's holding on to all this tension.
Not ready.
Finally, after 40 days, the trainer says, now he is ready.
What changed?
He is like a rooster made of wood. If another bird cries out, he doesn't even blink. He is so centered, so calm, that other birds take one look at him and just run away.
He wins without fighting.
Because he's unshakable. The conflict approach is reacting to every single slight. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you scream at them. Someone sends a passive-aggressive email, you reply all in all caps.
You're the reactive rooster.
You're just spending your energy.
Yeah.
The Sun Tzu approach is the wooden rooster.
Great generals are not warlike.
You maintain your center, you choose calm words, you create a boundary for sure, but you do not engage in their emotional storm. You just let their energy pass right through you.
That is incredibly difficult to do in the moment.
It is the hardest skill, but it preserves your treasury of energy and attention.
Okay, example 3. Habits.
Right. Let's look at method and discipline. The conflict approach to habits, say trying to eat healthier, is relying purely on willpower. You leave the junk food out on the counter and you spend all day, every day, fighting the urge to eat it. That is prolonged warfare.
You're fighting a siege against yourself.
And the enemy, that cookie, it has infinite patience. It will just wait you out. Eventually you get tired, your defenses drop, and you eat it.
So what is the Sun Tzu approach?
You change the earth. You change the terrain. You remove the enemy from the field of battle entirely.
You throw the junk food away.
You throw it away. Or you don't buy it in the first place. You don't fight the battle of willpower because you have already won the battle of logistics.
You win before this struggle even begins.
That's it. You design your environment so that discipline is actually the path of least resistance.
I want to address an elephant in the room here. When we talk about strategy, and especially Sun Tzu, there is a lot of talk about deception. All warfare is based on deception.
Yes, that's a famous line.
So how do we square that with being a good person? Are we telling people to go out and lie and manipulate?
This is where we need guardrails. We need to define our ethics. In the context of actual warfare, where someone is literally trying to kill you, deception is a tool of survival. You hide your location so you don't get bombed.
But in the office, in a relationship,
in the office or in a marriage, you are not at war. You are in a cooperative game, hopefully. In that context, deception can simply mean privacy.
okay.
It means not revealing your entire hand until you're ready. It's about not broadcasting your vulnerabilities to people who might exploit them.
So information asymmetry, not lying.
Not lying. But more importantly, you have to remember the commander's virtues: wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness.
Sincerity and benevolence are right there in the list.
If you are being manipulative, you violate sincerity. You violate the moral law. People will sense it and they will turn on you. The highest form of strategy is not tricking people. It is creating a situation where everyone wins so that conflict becomes unnecessary.
Subduing the enemy without fighting.
In modern terms, that's negotiation. That is de-escalation. That is building what he calls a golden bridge for your opponent to retreat across.
We should talk about the Golden Bridge.
Sun Tzu says, do not press a desperate foe too hard. If you surround an enemy completely and leave them absolutely no way out, they will fight to the death.
They have nothing to lose.
So they will fight with the fury of desperation, and you will take heavy losses. But if you leave them a gap reed, a golden bridge to escape over, they'll almost always run away.
So in an argument.
In an argument, this means giving the other person a way to back down with their dignity intact.
Don't corner them.
Do not corner them. If you humiliate them, you create a lifelong enemy. If you let them save face, you end the conflict peacefully. That is true benevolence.
I love that. Okay, let's pivot to the practical pitfalls. We've identified 5 common mistakes that keep people in this cycle of struggle. Mistake number 1, skipping the premortem.
Right, we touched on this. The premortem is a technique from the researcher Gary Klein. Most people do a postmortem. They autopsy the body after the project is already dead.
Which is useful, but it's way too late.
The premortem happens before you even start. You gather the team and you say, okay, imagine it is 1 year from now. This project was a total, unmitigated disaster. It failed completely. Now, write down the history of that failure.
You force your brain to be pessimistic and find the weak spots.
You force your brain to see the unknown unknowns. Oh, maybe the main vendor went bankrupt. Oh, maybe our key engineer quit. By seeing the failure now in the temple, you can prevent it from ever happening on the battlefield.
Okay. Mistake number 2, confusing busy with effective.
Sun Tzu warns against stupid haste. He says, I have heard of stupid haste in a war, but cleverness has never been seen associated with long delays.
It's a nuanced point.
It is. He hates delay, but he hates stupid haste even more.
Just rushing to look busy.
The sweating general, again. If you're rushing, you are likely just reacting. You need to pause, sharpen the blade. Velocity is speed with direction. Speed without direction is just noise.
Mistake number 3, emotional reaction.
This is where we can bring in the ODA loop.
OBA.
Observe, orient, decide, act. It's a concept from Colonel John Boyd. The mistake most people make is they skip the first 2 steps. They see something, observe, and they immediately act.
Stimulus. Response.
A total reflex? You need that orient phase. This is the temple in real time. You observe the data. Then you orient. What does this actually mean? What are my biases here? What is the larger context? Only then do you decide and act.
That split second of orientation is the difference between a strategy and a tantrum.
That is perfectly put.
Mistake number 4, fighting on desperate ground unnecessarily.
Desperate ground is any situation where you have no path of retreat. Now, sometimes life puts you there, but very often we put ourselves there.
Oh.
We procrastinate until the night before the deadline. Now we are on desperate ground.
We've backed ourselves into the corner.
And that forces you to be reactive and sloppy. Strategy requires options. If you have no options, you have no strategy. Don't procrastinate your way into a death ground.
And mistake number 5, ignoring sunk cost.
This is the hardest one for human psychology, but I've already spent 1,000 ounces of silver on this. I've already spent 5 years in this career. I have to keep going.
And Sun Tzu would say?
Look at the calculation now. The temple only cares about the future, not the past. If the calculation today says defeat is certain, you stop. It doesn't matter how much you've already spent.
Honest assessment requires the courage to quit.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Throwing good money after bad is not perseverance, it's ruin.
Okay. We want to leave you with something you can actually do right now. We call this the Calm Strategy Plan. It's a 7-step exercise to bring the temple mindset into your Tuesday morning.
You can do this in 5 minutes. Just grab a pen or open a note.
Step first, name the objective in 1 sentence.
Be very specific. Not, I want to be successful, but I want to launch this specific product by the end of Q3.
Step second, name the current conditions honestly.
This is your earth and heaven check. Be brutal with yourself. I am tired. We are over budget. The market is trending down. No lies here.
Step third, identify the biggest constraint.
What is the one choke point? Is it money? Is it time? Is it a specific skill you lack? Is it just fear?
Step fourth, choose the smallest, high-leverage next step.
Smallest, not rewrite the entire book, but write the outline for just chapter 1. You're just sharpening the axe.
Step fifth, identify 1 risk and 1 prevention.
A mini premortem. A likely risk is that I'll get distracted by email. The prevention. I will turn off the Wi-Fi for 1 hour.
Step 6, choose one sentence you will repeat to stay calm and focused.
This is your internal moral law, your mantra. It could be, I am the wooden rooster, or slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
And step 7, commit to one proof action immediately after the exercise.
Do one small thing to prove the campaign has officially started. Send that one email. Buy the domain name, clean off your desk, just break the static friction.
If you do that, you have moved from anxiety to command.
You have entered the temple.
Let's wrap this up. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. Let's try and distill it into 7 key takeaways.
Okay, bullet first. Victory is not an accident. It is calculation made in the quiet of the temple.
Bullet second, conflict is expensive. You have to protect your energy, your reputation, and your treasury. Avoid prolonged warfare at all costs.
Bullet third. Assess the 5 factors: alignment, timing, terrain, character, and discipline. If the math doesn't work, don't fight.
Bullet fourth, the greatest leader is not warlike. They are like the wooden rooster, calm, unshakable, and dangerous because of their immense focus.
Bullet fifth. Use the planning lens to define success before you act in your work, in your relationships, and in your habits.
Bullet sixth, ethics are strength. De-escalation is a higher skill than conquest. Always build a golden bridge.
And bullet seventh. Sharpen the blade first so the stroke is effortless.
This has been a heavy session, but a really necessary one, I think.
It resets the baseline. We stop trying to out-hustle the world, and we start trying to outthink it.
And this is just the foundation. Today was all about planning, winning before the conflict. But let's be real, sometimes the conflict comes to you anyway.
It does.
Sometimes you have to move.
And that is episode 2. Attack by strategy, the highest win.
We're going to move from the temple to the field. We'll talk about how to take the initiative, how to handle momentum, how to use what he calls direct and indirect methods to win without destroying what you value.
We will talk about flowing like water. It is going to be really good.
For our viewers, keep an eye out for these key themes on screen.
Victory begins with calculation.
Avoid the high cost of struggle.
Assess alignment, timing, and terrain.
Discipline outweighs stupid haste.
Great generals are not warlike.
Strategy requires honest self-assessment.
Win without fighting is supreme.
Plan reduces the friction of reality.
Character is a strategic asset.
Calmness is the ultimate weapon.
I want to leave you with one final image to hold on to. The wooden rooster. The next time you feel that heat rising in your chest, the urge to snap back, to react, to jump into the fray, just stop and ask yourself, am I being the wooden rooster right now? Or am I just another noisy bird in the yard?
Silence is often the loudest strategy.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.